Sure. Hi, I'm Minna Graham. I'm a ceramic artist. I live and work just outside of Daylesford in central Victoria in the Goldfields region. Um, and I largely make functional sculptural vessels, and some other functional tableware. But these days I'm focusing more on the sculptural vessels that are fairly fairly loosely based on nature and the natural history and the natural world. And it was a very generous setup there. The tutors were really generous with their studio space and the time. So I was able to come in and use the studio outside of my actual class time and my designated class time. So I had my wheel set up and my shelves set up, and I could use that whenever I wanted, as well as had access to the glaze room and mold making and any of the studios really. For 5 days a week if I wanted to. So I essentially had full-time training, with access to the teachers as well if I wanted to, even though the classes were part-time. I had the rest of the time to practice and experiment with glazes and also access to my peers and my teachers. And it was also mixed between first, second, third year students as well. So if the teachers weren't available, you could go and ask any of the other students. It was also in the same building as the Fine Arts Ceramic Studio practice where Peter Pilvin taught. So I had access to that studio. I was really lucky to have that time and that training, and the generosity of everybody there. It was a really supportive environment. Well, I think ceramics is really interesting because there's no one way of doing a thing. There's always 100+ ways of doing the same thing, and everyone has their own ways and everyone teaches in different ways. So the training that I had through my diploma with both Neville French and Mary Rasmussen was really fantastic, and it covered so many different aspects of ceramic making. Um, but it was also very much their way of doing things. And so I was aware of that. And after visiting Japan and just my mind being really expanded in my knowledge of what you can do with ceramics, I really felt like I'd just been taught the Western way, which is very much based in and rooted in symmetry, porcelain, perfection. But I was really interested in not doing that because, well, I guess my brain's not wired that way. I can do that. I was taught to do that. I can make symmetrical, very centered symmetrical fine pots, but I found that I was always trying to alter them, squash them, make them chunkier, I wanted to do different things, and I felt a little bit limited in my knowledge. So, um, yeah, I was particularly interested in Peter Pilvin's work because he's so loose. I don't know if you know his work at all, but he's quite a well-known Australian potter. Unfortunately, he passed away about a year ago, but he's got extensive experience across all sorts of ceramics and a really long practice. And I was particularly interested in his work and learning under him because he has a very different way of working. A lot looser, a lot freer, and a lot less constrained by that kind of Western ideal of perfection. Um, and I just wanted to find and learn different ways of achieving that. So yeah, I went back to do that really. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think all ceramicists face massive disappointments, and I think it's something you really have to get used to as a potter, is putting in long, hard hours into pieces for them to just not turn out how you want them to, or to look completely different to what you envisaged, or um, for them to crack or fall apart, or not work in some way. And so there's countless rejects and countless hours spent working on pieces that just fall apart. or not fall apart necessarily, but just don't turn out the way you want them. So I think a lot of my surfaces are really highly experimental. Um, and so it takes me a long time to develop a technique, a surface treatment technique. Um, so I spend a lot of time just doing things over and over again, making slight changes to things, in order to get it to how I want it. And then the way I learn is by repetition. So for me, once I do it once and I get it how I want it, to feel like I've got a handle on how to do that thing, I have to do it over and over and over and over again. So often I might make 40 of one piece by the time I feel like I've gotten there, in order to just keep refining and feel like I've not perfected necessarily, because I don't ever feel like I've perfected something, but at least I know that I can do it again if I need to and want to. I recently did a residency in Portugal for a month, just in order to have that time where I could really play without being too worried about, the constraints of waste. And, I really tried to give myself that time. And that was really fun. Yeah. Yeah. I love fibers. So yeah, I've started doing bits and pieces of weaving, here and there, like basketry and other types of weaving. When I was younger, I did a lot of um, spinning of silk and wool, using spinning wheels and dyeing wools, and both weaving and crocheting and that kind of fiber-based stuff as well. Cooking, gardening, all those things that are also creative, that are quite earthy and homey. I'm quite a homebody as well, so I do enjoy that kind of creative task as well. I do like um, I do like functional things. I like having an outcome. So yeah, painting isn't my preferred. Like I'm not into painting necessarily, or printmaking or anything that doesn't necessarily carry a direct function. Um, yeah, and I don't know what that is, but I think I like the idea of being useful, or having something that I can use, or yeah, something like that. I think to begin with, it's great to just say yes to any opportunity that comes your way, no matter how small it seems, or how, what's a word that often gets used, lame, how lame an event might seem. I think in turn, if you're supporting somebody else's event or supporting somebody else's request, in turn, you'll be supported. So I think that's a really, really important way of building up a business, and um, yeah, and showing up and showing integrity in your business. And those small opportunities often create bigger opportunities. Probably the best advice that I can give is don't be a snob. Yeah. There's such an amazing ceramics community in Australia, and well, across the world, really. And potters are generally really open and friendly people. We all spend a lot of time working alone. So when somebody else knocks on your door and goes, "Hey, let's talk pottery," which nobody else wants to do, they welcome you with open arms. So yeah, there's an amazing, amazing ceramics community out there. Rock up and buy a pot from someone, start a conversation with someone. Sharing of knowledge is always wonderful, but I think it's really important to keep some things for yourself, because a lot of the things that you do create for yourself are often quite hard earned. So for me, I know how hard I work on developing work that's quite unique to me. So I'm not willing to share all of it. Probably that I don't like most of what I make. I think that's something that I'm really often disappointed with my work. I think that's a good thing though. I think I'm really, really self-judgmental about the things that I make. And I think that gives me drive to keep moving forward and to keep trying new things. And I think that maybe the moment I feel like I've done it, I've made it, I'm there, then I'm not seeing it in a way that, in a realistic way, maybe. And I think it gives me drive. So I'm okay with it. I think people don't necessarily understand how many hours and literally blood, sweat, and tears goes into a piece. So by the time it's at sort of exhibition point, there might be 100 other pieces that came before it that aren't quite right, that are, disappointments or considered failures, and the time that goes into all of that, and the muscle that goes into that, and the resources that go into that kind of finished piece, isn't just what you see. I think there's one series that I've been working on since 2016, that I feel like I've only just refined enough that in the past year, I feel like I've only just resolved it, to the point where I'm happy to put it out there. I think the nature of ceramics is that it is so solitary that nobody's ever going to know really about that stuff. Yeah. Respect ceramic artists, and what we do, because we have it's so much, there's that goes into ceramics. There's art, there's engineering, there's chemistry, there's geology, there's sculpture in there. There's just so many elements to ceramic arts, and I think a lot of people when they're starting out don't understand just how difficult an art form it is, and that it really does take thousands and thousands of hours to start really developing your ceramic practice. And I think people often see it as another quick craft or a quick art form, but it's not. To be really good at what you do, you need to put in that time and you need to put in that effort. But the thing I really love about ceramics is you never stop learning. It's infinite what you can do and what you can know and what you can learn. And there's just no way you're ever going to learn it all. And that's kind of exciting. Yeah.